It's fine. We're trying to become book influencers. You gotta have books to be a book fluencer.
Mm-hmm. We'll workshop it. Welcome to Midlight Crisis, a real podcast hosted by three grown adults revisiting books from our teens, and it's totally cool, just like us. And yeah, we've been talking about so many books. What did we even? We're reading Twilight and Midnight Sun.
Yep.
And there was a lot of Midnight Sun to go with the Twilight this week.
So much.
There's a lot of ground to cover. First, we'll introduce ourselves, I guess. I, as always, am Sophie, and my YA title that has been randomly generated for me today is... Sorry, it's very good. The Bag Full of Blood and Exoskeletons.
Oh my god!
Wow, that's so good.
This is so good.
Before we started the recording, we were talking about disgusting recipes that you make to feed crabs, and that's what it is.
And this is a good summation of that.
Yeah, that's a good crab dinner.
Yeah. Add some Cuttlebone in there and then you're A-okay.
Oh. Nightmares.
Hold on, question. Does like a gastropod shell count as an exoskeleton, and therefore does a Cuttlebone, even though it's an endo, like an internal structure, does it count as an exoskeleton?
I feel like I would still call it an endoskeleton, just because it is endo.
I would agree with that.
So, maybe shells don't count as an exoskeleton, like gastropods shells. Anyway, that's a different podcast that we would probably have a good time doing. Who are you guys?
Yeah.
Well, as always, I'm Sam, and my randomly generated name of today is the tomfoolery of TikTok teens and bookstores.
Wow, you got tomfoolery twice in a row.
I know.
It's a good one.
That is
and
a
it's
good
like
one.
Very applicable because there's a lot of TikTok teens who love bookstores.
Yep.
The alliteration of tomfoolery and TikTok teens is very orally pleasing to me.
Yeah. Last time I think we talked about a tomfoolery being the name for a group of things, and I think it's TikTok teens.
There we go. We found it.
We found it.
Perfect. And I am Hannah, and my randomly generated YA title for this week is The Galaxy of Babies and Shadows.
Whoa. That sounds like an actual book name, though.
It does.
I cannot fathom what that could be about.
I can't. I'm trying to think. I feel like I've watched some sort of sci-fi that had like a planet full of babies.
Oh god. It sounds like a Star Trek, the original trilogy episode.
That's what it probably was, because like my dad used to watch Star Trek all the time when I was growing up, so I probably have some subconscious memory from then that's coming up, but like I can't place it. But I feel like that's a sci-fi thing I've seen.
Yeah, so it's probably not the name of a YA book, but it is the tagline for like one of the Star Trek movies.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Great. Cool. Well, I think one of these chapter summaries is going to be a bit shorter than the others, but Sam, you want to tell us what happened in Twilight this week?
Yeah. Not much happened considering how bloody long this chapter was. Mostly it was just filled with a bunch of filler with Bella talking to Jacob, then talking to Mike, and talking to Edward. But then she got to meet Alice for the first time, which was kind of cute. And then we have the big day. Their like big date where they're going for a hike. It's Bella's worst nightmare. And I thought we were going to get the meadow scene and this chapter, but then the chapter ends right before they enter the meadow, and I was mad. I went through that whole chapter for nothing. There's no payoff. Just nothing.
Just a cliffhanger at the end there.
I was real mad about it because I actually was like, oh yeah, I remember like thinking this scene was cute, and then I was like, oh no, what if it's not going to be cute? But that's for next time. Anyway,
we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
Cool. How about Midnight Suns? 1,000,000 chapters that we had to read.
Yeah, we had to read 3 chapters of Midnight Sun to cover the single Twilight chapter. They are called Closer, Probability, and The Knot. Most of the new information was just in the middle chapter in Probability. Edward and Alice have a long conversation while they're out hunting about Bella's possible futures, and Alice realizes that the upcoming meadow scene is kind of the crux of whatever is going to happen. So what they do there will set the tone for the rest of their future, so of course Edward stresses out about it frequently. There's also a protracted flashback about the second year of Edward's vampirehood, where he reflects on Carlisle's efforts to help him live a fulfilling life, and also on his first encounter with other vampires, who were two Irish vampires named Siobhan and Maggie, living a more traditional vampire lifestyle. And Siobhan makes this comment about how Edward is missing out on, quote, the greatest joy of this life by following Carlisle's lifestyle, which seems to have really stuck with him. And as he's reflecting upon the scene from his past whilst standing in Bella's bedroom, he decides that Bella is the greatest joy of his life. And that solidly pushes the possible futures towards the options where Bella lives.
Aww.
So that's nice.
That one, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Really, we could have just read that one chapter and skipped the other two.
Seriously.
Yeah. The Twilight one, given the fact that it is so very long, it felt very much like a transitional chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there were at least like 3 different scenes in that one chapter, and it was like, clearly she just was like, I just have to get through this part.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's like, come on, we gotta get to the meadow scene. It's happening. It's all happening.
It's all happening. I loved the the image when Edward and Bella are again talking in the cafeteria, and Bella looks over to the rest of the Cullens and says that they are all staring off in different directions. Guys, aren't you supposed to be acting human? Like, who just sits at a table with a group of people and nobody looks at each other?
Yeah. I know, the in the Midnight Sun chapter, Edward implies that like Alice had just warned everyone to like look away from Bella, which also implies that they had all just been staring at Edward and Bella like a split second before.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how nobody else has clocked that they're non-human weirdos yet. They're
seriously
they're so conspicuous.
Especially because in my head, the way that it's like, oh, they're all looking in different directions, I don't picture them like sitting around a table normally. Like, I picture like one of them sitting on the table with like the legs hanging off, staring one direction. like they look like a boy band in my brain. Anyway, it's a good mental image. The thing about all 4 of these chapters is that there's just so much of a bunch of stuff we've talked about before.
Yeah.
There's Edward ruins everything again by being like, her infatuation and my true love. And it's like, okay, can you stop with that? Again, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like Bella not realizing how pretty she is. Edward just being in his own head the whole time. I don't want
Edward not realizing how horny Bella is.
Yeah. Like, it's like, if you want a summary of what we talk about on this podcast, you can really just read these 4 chapters.
It's so true.
It's got all of it.
Yep. It is interesting that, like, we get so little of interest in each new chapter that we always come back to the same subjects.
Yeah. It's just, like, rubbing it in. That's like, okay, we get it. This is still happening.
Yeah.
Yep. Slightly different from our usual issue. Edward does, like, one of his first things where he's not thinking about how his actions are going to affect Bella. He like picks her up for their date and then is like, by the way, we're going to be doing a 5-mile hike through the woods with no trail. Didn't tell you to wear like hiking clothes or proper shoes. Like, if I got picked up for a date and they just sprung a 5-mile hike on me, I'd be like, bro, I'm wearing flip-flops. Like, you should have told me beforehand.
I'd be like, we need to turn around. I need to go change.
Yeah.
That is such a guy thing to do on a date, though, to like plan a hike and not tell the girl. And then like you get all cute or whatever. And I'm like, no. I need hiking pants. I need my hiking shoes. I need my day pack with at least 2 bottles of water, a granola bar.
I need snacks. I need
I did not wear
sunscreen.
my activity bra today. Like,
Yeah.
we have a limited number of things we can do.
I need to take all this makeup off because I am going to be sweating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodbye. My biggest issue with these chapters, am I just like missing something? Because I cannot picture what kind of shirt Edward is wearing.
Oh my god! Okay.
What the kind of shirt has a collar, buttons up, and has no sleeves?
Okay, I made something for us.
Oh my god, what is he
Oh.
wearing?
I'll put it in our group chat, and don't worry, I've already scheduled it to go out on Twitter.
I spent a good 10 minutes being like, what the is this shirt? Oh no.
Yeah.
Wait, I still haven't got to it.
Oh god. See, that's what I'm picturing. And I'm like, that's not a real shirt.
I had to reread that passage like 3 times. Yeah, because he talks about putting on a button-up, like, collared shirt,
Yeah.
and then he says that he matches Bella's because hers leaves her arms bare to the shoulder.
They're both wearing this insane shirt.
Oh my god. Okay, I have a shirt like this, but it's like a crop top with a like tie in it. Like it's a cute shirt. No.
I've never. They always have like sleeve, like a little poof, like not right, like the shoulder. It's not like a muscle shirt where it like goes really high on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Anyway, oh my god.
Wow.
I wish they had committed to that in the movie.
Seriously.
Edward in the world's most formal muscle shirt.
Like, I was trying to picture it in my head, and I was like, is it a vest? Like, are you trying to say the word vest? Like, that buttons up and has no sleeves? Oh my god, it's an insane shirt.
The most ridiculous thing.
That's ridiculous. Like, why not just be like, I wore a button-up shirt with a muscle shirt underneath or something? I don't even. Anyway.
Yeah, or even just like a short-sleeved button-up, like that wouldn't have raised any eyebrows for me, but a sleeveless button-up is a very different story.
That's like they put extra emphasis in the Midnight Sun chapters that like Alice picked this shirt for Edward. And she didn't go like, what the did I just buy?
Well, she did. She was like, yeah, I don't know why I bought this, but you need it, so you can't throw it out.
But like, where did she buy it? Did she cut the sleeves off herself? This shirt doesn't exist.
Oh my god.
I was wondering, like, if that was a mistake. That, like, she didn't realize that this was the shirt that she had written Edward wearing.
Yeah. Like, but it's in Midnight Sun.
Yeah, it is in Midnight Sun.
Is this like a thing that people wear?
I've never seen a masculine presenting person wearing this shirt.
Exactly.
No.
Like, these shirts are usually cut to, like, have the hourglass shape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Looking at this picture, it is the ideal hiking shirt.
Oh no. Okay, I'm glad we got that shirt out of the way because it was like I couldn't stop thinking about it.
It's absolutely bonkers.
Okay, to talk about something nicer, I guess. I kind of liked, even though the Twilight chapter was like forgettable instantly. I liked when Edward shows up to like pick Bella up for their, or I guess not pick her up, mooch a ride to their date.
Yeah.
There were just like a couple moments that made me laugh. The first was Bella being like, I had a little trouble with the simple deadbolt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, same.
Yep, me too.
And then the second one, when he like realizes that they're wearing the exact same thing, but her reaction is she doesn't realize, and she's like, I worried that I'd forgotten something important, like pants.
Yeah.
It was fun. Like, yeah, I've been there.
So relatable. Uh-huh.
The moment where like the instant someone looks at you like as though something might be weird, and you're like, oh god.
Yeah.
Is my shirt off?
Yeah, did I forget to wear a bra? Like,
Yeah. A couple days ago, I was at work for 3 hours before I realized that my pants were on inside out. So.
Oh man, I was at work for a full day once and I didn't realize that my dress was backwards. It was luckily like it was fine because it was like a black turtleneck. dress. You couldn't tell unless you knew. But then I don't remember what I did. I think I went to the gym or something after, and I took it. I looked at the tag, and I was like, "Oh my god, I've been wearing this backwards all day." So yeah,
It happens to the best of us.
yep.
I really liked with their outfits. It was debunked in Midnight Sun, but in the Twilight chapter, I was like, oh my god, what if Alice saw Bella getting dressed and like pushed Edward to wear this specific thing so that they would match?
Oh my god.
Oh my
That would have been so
God.
funny, but it wasn't that, which is kind
But
of too bad.
alas.
Yeah, no.
I think Edward just, or he says that he never puts that much thought into what he wears, and then he just puts on this sleeveless button down and a tan
God.
sweater.
I hate this shirt so much.
It seems more like something Emmett would wear, honestly.
Oh
my
god. But
God.
except it would be because he ripped the sleeves off himself.
Yes,
He
yes,
just hulked out of the sleeves.
Yeah.
yes.
My absolute favorite part about these chapters was how much Alice was in them. It was so nice. There was just on the Midnight Sun side, we've said this before countless times, but there were
Mhm.
just a bunch of things that there were two parts that like I don't think ever got touched on really in Twilight that end up in this book, where I don't know if the memory of that time when he was a newborn vampire shows up in Twilight at all.
Not really.
I don't
Not
think
really.
so. Yeah.
But like early days with Carlisle, like that's fun, A. And then B, like this whole chaotic situation where the reason Edward takes off for the afternoon to go hunting is because Alice realizes that the meadow reveal vision she has is at the same place as Bella getting murdered by Edward vision.
Mhm.
Oh.
And so like in the Twilight you don't get any sense of that happening really, but in the Midnight Sun thing it becomes this whole chapter, which was just like cool to see them interacting and like having to deal with this problem that you didn't know was a thing in the original book.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always like harping about how we didn't get to see something in Midnight Sun that I think Midnight Sun would have been good for. But this is like the perfect example of why Midnight Sun could have been amazing.
Yeah,
For sure.
because you get this whole scene of like, granted we're over Edward just like fighting with himself over this thing, but I felt like this scene was an actual good representation of it because it shows something actually happening from the beginning to the end, because Alice keeps giving him numbers on what her visions are showing the outcome's likelihood being.
Mhm.
So, like, how likely is it that Bella will just end up dead? How likely is it that she'll end up turned into a vampire? Or how likely is it that this nebulous potential third where she stays human and is alive?
Mhm.
And I don't know, she just keeps like peppering in with Edward having this like, he'll have some wild, like, oh my god, everything's terrible. And then he'll be like, no, I must be the Edward Bella wants me to be. And then Alice calls him being like, it's 80-40 now. Wait, that's not how numbers work. It's
Funny.
80-20.
Sam's a statistician. It's okay.
Yeah, okay, Sam will make fun of me. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, because I felt like that was actually like things are moving, progressing, and changing. Whereas up
Mhm.
until this point, it's like, he's just being obnoxious.
Yeah.
Mhm. And it was fun to see the two of them kind of working through it together, where they're like both watching Alice's visions and like, okay, what will happen if we decide we're going to do this? What will happen if we do this? Like,
Mhm.
if I do this, will things change? Will they stay the same? It was really interesting to see how they have both learned to like interpret and manipulate the future based on Alice's visions.
Mhm.
First, we get like a little bit more into what Alice's power is like, which I thought was interesting in that it's not that just that she sees visions, she like has this web of the
Mhm.
future in her head that is just always there, and like new visions will come as things change, but it seems like anything that has she's already kind of picked up on but hasn't changed stays there, so she can like pull at it at will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is how I understood it, which seems pretty cool.
It seems very overwhelming to me.
Yeah. But what was interesting about that to me is that Edward was trying to figure out like what he could do to change all of this, but Alice was like, there is like a fixed point where you and Bella end up at this place and there's nothing you can do about it.
Mhm.
And what I liked about that is that we've seen so much of Edward like completely disregarding Bella's opinion, and he does it a lot in this chapter too, unsurprisingly. But it's like, well, clearly Bella is like way more stubborn to follow this path. It's going to happen, and it's going to be because Bella decided.
Yep.
Yes.
Which, I don't know, was fun. Gave her more control over her own destiny.
Yes. I really liked what Alice said about it. There's a quote. "You know that I love you, so listen to me now. Putting this off won't change anything. Take her to your meadow, Edward, and for me, and especially for you, bring her back again." And I was like, damn, that's so good.
And that's good.
But yeah, it's just like, it's gonna happen whether you want it to or not. Like, this is a shatter point in this Twilight universe. You gotta go to this meadow and see what happens there.
Yeah, and Alice even says, like, Edward, that's not taking into account what Bella does. Like, no matter what you do, you need to take into account what she does.
Mhm.
I have just a sentence here
Oh no.
of my notes that's just like all caps. I've bolded it because I was so angry while writing it. He doesn't even ask Bella or tell her the details or consider it or anything, because like the whole thing that frustrates me, which we definitely have said, is that he doesn't tell her that she has the option of becoming a vampire.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, as far as he's concerned, she doesn't, right? Like, he's bound and determined to make sure she doesn't.
Yeah, and it's just like so infuriating that he doesn't let her make the choice. He doesn't say like, here's the downsides of being a vampire. Here's why I really don't want you to be one, because in my experience, blah 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 blah. He's just like, I'm just not going to tell her about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole plot of Eclipse? That, like,
Yeah.
Bella wants to be a vampire and Edward's trying to convince her not to be one?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get there when we get there, I guess.
Like, yeah, I don't remember any of that, but that makes sense.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the main plot of it. I liked this insight into Edward and Alice's relationship because I think Stephanie Meyer, besides Edward being awful, it shows a different perspective on like men displaying love. And like
Mhm.
Edward is just like so open about like how much he loves his family, and it's just not something you see a lot in a male lead, in especially in romance novels. You get so much like the dark brooding type who like will never say I love you and da-da-da. And then you just have Edward here, which I know it's like possessive and stuff, but seeing it with Alice, it just I don't know, I liked it.
I loved the same thing with in the flashback with Edward and Carlisle, like seeing how much they do for each other because of how much they love each other.
Yeah.
It was really sweet.
It was really sweet.
Yeah, Carlisle like knows that Edward, young Edward, when he's only been a vampire for about a year, like feeds off of Carlisle's approval. That's like the only thing he wants in the world. So he like tricks him and sends him out and is like, okay, I want you to like go for a walk among the humans yourself. Like, I trust you. You can do it. I believe in you.
Mhm.
And Edward is like so excited to come home and tell Carlisle that he did it without like slipping and killing anybody. And then Carlisle has like used this as a distraction to set up a Christmas tree because like he took Edward's humanity away from him, so he wants to make sure that Edward gets some of it back. Like, Edward's not into it, but he knows how hard Carlisle is trying, so he like forces himself to like it and like participate in having Christmas and has a good time. It's like, it's so sweet how much they care about each other and how much they do for each other, even in their very non-conventional family.
Yeah.
That's that gets Hannah right there.
Yeah.
That's it.
How to make Hannah have a run-on sentence.
Although, like, as much as I appreciate how much they care for each other and want to do things for each other, I cannot believe Alice went and found a mountain lion for Edward to eat. like, how dare.
Yep,
Yeah.
I was pretty peeved about that too. And Edward was like, "Oh, but the population in this park." I was like, yeah, Edward."
Yeah, don't eat it. He, like, specifically is like, yeah, it probably won't taste any better than, like, a deer. But he
Yep,
eats it anyway.
yep.
Rude.
Also, that made me wonder, what do you think Alice's favorite is? Based on Edward and Emmett's favorites and what Edward says about them, their favorite foods are usually predators, and I don't remember the exact wording he uses later, but he says that they are kind of emblematic of how the vampire is.
Like, how they hunt.
Yeah, and just like what their strengths are.
This is a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She would have to be something like small and fast, right?
Yeah. Like, I feel like some kind of bird, right? Or, like, a hawk?
Ooh.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Or, like, an owl, because, like, owls, like, know where everything is before they even strike. Because
Hmm.
they can hear it.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. I wasn't even thinking of non-mammalian predators.
Edward specifically says, like, even birds run away from him, so I'm like, I'm assuming they also eat birds? Maybe it has to be mammalian, though?
I don't know. I was going like lynx, but like not quite lynx, but some like a small cat. Oh, oh, it's a fox.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I was
yeah!
gonna say. It was a fox.
Sorry, Sam.
No, it's okay.
That took me longer to get to than it should have, though.
My other top moment in these chapters was when Alice, like, uses her future seeing to see how she would find the keys to Bella's truck, and then just like
Yeah.
shortcut past, because she sees where she finds it in the end. So she sees the path she would follow to find the key, and then she just goes to where she saw the key was, which is so great. It was like my
Pretty good.
favorite part. It's like, hell yeah, that's the best use of this power I've ever seen.
Yeah, so creative. Well, and I was wondering in Twilight, I was like, how are they going to find this key? I was afraid that it was going to be Edward being like, yes, I like remember hearing her keys in her pocket when she got undressed for bed or something like that. It was
Yeah.
super gross.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't gross, and I was the gross one.
You were the gross one.
I mean, given Edward's past behavior, like, it's
Yeah.
not that far off.
No.
Unfortunately.
Ugh.
No.
I did my classic thing where I fact checked.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So Edward's directions to the meadow. There is a Highway 101 that passes right through Forks.
Okay.
And there is a Highway 110.
Okay.
But he says turn right on the 110, and you can't. There's no right. It's only left. So I'm assuming that's where, like, there's like a road. There's the 110, and then just after the 110, there is like a road that heads into the park. So I'm assuming that's probably what he meant. Because if you turn left on the 110 and you drive until the pavement ends, you end up at La Push Beach. So that's probably not where he took her.
Wow.
Yeah, and so if you go up the other road, it's weird because it turns into one of those, like, it splits in ways that aren't, like, it isn't obvious which road is the main road. It looks like, from just looking at Google Maps. But basically it just takes you, into the middle of the park. So I guess that's probably where he took her.
And did you find a meadow on Google Maps?
No, it's impossible. They're all like forest roads, so they don't have like street view.
Mm.
Unfortunately.
Interesting.
Well, it's not that interesting, but the first time I was looking it up, I was like, are you kidding me? He's just taking her to La Push Beach? That can't be right.
What a plot twist.
Yeah. Just like, are you sure about that?
Taking you to a place I like to go when it's sunny, specifically to antagonize the werewolf. Just standing on the beach sparkling like, come eat me now, werewolves!
Yeah. Just like, hey, you guys.
I mean, that's definitely something that would happen in Eclipse.
That's
Yeah.
true. Standing right on the edge of the treaty line with his shirt off, just
100%.
like, what?
100%.
Come at
What
me.
you gonna do about it?
Because Edward and Jacob both turn into just such petty dickheads.
Looking forward to that.
Woo!
Are you?
So much.
So much.
So
Me
much.
also.
Yes.
Anyway, that was the only sleuthing I did on this.
I was going to do some sleuthing about St. John, New Brunswick in 1919 because that's where Edward and Carlisle were. But then I got distracted, I guess for context. This is where Carlisle takes Edward as the first place they're going to live amongst people. And his escape route for if Edward gets like too overwhelmed by all the people nearby and they need to like get out of the populated areas fast is to go into the harbor. So I got distracted from my history searching because St. John is right on the Bay of Fundy. And for people who don't know, the Bay of Fundy is like has the highest tides in the world and is a very turbulent, very destructive marine environment. So I was just imagining Edward running headlong into the Bay of Fundy, immediately getting knocked over by the tides, like getting absolutely wrecked, because they try to put tidal generators in the Bay of Fundy, and they get broken very quickly because the Bay of Fundy tides are strong enough to carry boulders back and forth, and it smashes the turbines to bits. And like, you can't put oceanographic gear down there. I've like done an internship with an organization that like tries to do some research in there. You have to get specifically designed subfloats. You have to get specifically designed anchors just to work in the Bay of Fundy. They still break free all the time. They're like constantly getting damaged because it is such a destructive place to be. The idea of Edward like getting hungry for people, running into the Bay of Fundy, and immediately having his head knocked off by a giant rock.
We've discovered the third way to kill a vampire.
Yeah, it would have solved all the problems now.
Just throw him in the Bay of Fundy.
They get tumbled and become very, very smooth.
Yeah, like a diamond, because that's what they're made of.
Yeah, like all of their fingers like break off and they just have this like very polished, round little hand.
Oh my god, can you imagine?
Like, imagine that you're a vampire and you find a vampire who like got stuck in the Bay of Fundy 100 years ago and now is like just a torso.
Oh,
I'm also imagining like, because the Bay of Fundy has like hella high and low tides, right? It's like 12 feet or something, or more 12 meters. Let's Bay of Fundy.
Tidal range 12 meters.
12 meters.
38 feet. Yeah.
So like, I don't know where they were staying, but I imagine there's like low tide situations where you walk to where the water is and then you fall 15 meters off of like the cliff.
Well, a lot of places on the Bay of Fundy, and therefore probably in St. John as well, you tie up your boat to the dock at high tide and then it sits in the mud during low tide.
Yeah.
Like the water just leaves completely.
Dang.
So would Edward just
Have to-
in the mud?
He'd have to run for like 20 minutes before he gets to where the water is.
Yeah. Just
Or he
burrow
just,
down
like-
into the mud flat like a clam.
That's what I was thinking. He just like buries himself and like, I don't know, has a straw sticking up. So, wait, he doesn't need to breathe. Never
No, he doesn't
mind.
need to breathe.
Carlisle goes out there with like a shovel, like you do when you're looking for crabs, and just like
Yeah.
levers Edward out of the mud.
Just looking for my vampire, you
Yeah.
know.
Just looking for my son.
Have you calmed down yet, son?
He's like a little lungfish estivating in like a little cocoon.
Yeah.
Oh.
His vampire cocoon.
Opens his eyes and like mud trickles out of his mouth and he's like, I'm still hungry.
Okay, but like on that note, why the hell do vampires like constantly live in a state of pent up murder? Like,
I know.
Yeah.
a normal predator doesn't attack everything it sees all the time. This is my problem also with like monster movies,
Yeah.
because if a predator isn't like starving, they are very calculating about when they hunt and how they make their attack.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between like I guess a starving animal that will kind of like risk a lot more, but normally predators like they'll wait in ambush or they'll wait for the perfect strike so that they don't risk hurting themselves, which is like a huge problem if you're a predator. I guess not for a
Mhm.
vampire. But
Yeah.
like he's like chock full of blood and he's like I still must murder. And it's like this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Did either of you imagine when, okay, because he's like literally says he's like so full of blood. I can't remember what the exact line was.
Oh yeah, his insides are felt liquefied.
Yeah,
Aw.
but in my head, oh my, like I just imagined this like Michelin Man kind of vibe, and just
Yeah.
like feeling like you were full of liquid, and so I just imagined this like bloated Edward that was just like when he walked with blood sloshing.
Sloshing around.
Yeah.
I was imagining, you know, when you are diving and you like first get out and your wetsuit is like full of water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was imagining.
Yeah, and then you open up the leg of your wetsuit and it just all comes out.
Gushes out. Yeah.
That's what I imagined. And then, like, I just imagined him walking around, and then you hear this, like, sloshing of blood, which I know is completely not biologically reasonable, but just the way she described it, I was just like, this is a
Ooh.
really weird visual I have in my brain right now.
It's so weird. To be fair, though, none of the stuff we've learned about vampires is biologically reasonable.
Oh, this is true. I have several other biology issues that came to light while reading this section.
Yeah.
Just like every part of the vampire doesn't make sense.
Okay, I
No.
need to ask this one. So
Okay.
we get our first vampire shower. So Edward
Oh,
takes a
yeah.
shower. Okay. And so this my brain, which had been working for like 9 or 10 hours that day trying to read Twilight, was just like, wait, Edward's taking a shower. When you shower, you lose a lot of hair. And then I was like, vampire hair. And it's like, it's established that Twilight vampires freeze. So, like, if you turn with short hair, it never grows more. If you turn with long hair and you cut it, like, you're never going to get it back. But does that mean that their hair is also like diamond strength? Because hair naturally breaks. And if it never grows back, wouldn't all vampires just be bald and completely hairless eventually?
Oh my god.
Thank you!
Like, your hair falls out because it has died, right? Isn't that a thing?
Yeah, and it like if your hair's not growing, it naturally breaks as it gets older. So
Yeah.
I like if their hair also isn't diamond strength and it's not growing when it breaks or if they shower, like it would eventually just all be gone.
I mean, it must not break. Like, it must petrify just like the rest of them.
That's
But
so funny though, because I'm imagining like the one thing that the vampires protect on their body is like their hair.
right?
They're like, oh, you can't kill me or anything, but you can ruin my hair. Do
Yeah.
not come near me with those scissors.
But then I was just imagining myself as a vampire because like I'm pretty sentimental with my hair. Like I like my hair a lot. And then I can't imagine just like getting in like a fight or an accident or something and somehow your hair gets off and then like you lose your hair and then it can't grow back. And then
Listen, in this day and age, you can wear whatever wig you want.
that's true.
But like man, now I'm thinking about it. Does their hair like do bullets also bounce off their hair?
See?
What's going on
Yes.
here?
Yes,
See?
absolutely.
But then how do they brush the hair? How does it not just like stick up or like because like it's established that like Alice has a pixie cut and Rosalie has like long flowing blonde hair. But if your hair is like diamond, it can't flow.
I feel like the fact that vampires are supposed to be super hot to humans, and one of the things that fairly universally humans like on a potential mate is nice hair, whatever that means to them. There must just be a thing that is just like, we're going to take whatever hair you had when you're turned and make it perfect forever. And like, it's not going to change.
what is
or
it?
fall out or anything.
Because it makes sense to me that like they stop shedding hair, right?
Mhm.
Like that freezes, and so they wouldn't
Yeah.
lose hair over time. But like,
But it would break still.
well, so like their nails are stronger, right? Obviously, I'm pretty sure they say that at some point.
Yeah.
So like, that's also just keratin. So
Mhm.
I'm assuming that means their hair is stronger. Probably not like, I don't even know.
I mean, maybe it turns into something like this is a niche reference, I guess. I have been working with Dyneema line, which is like polypropylene line with a Kevlar core, and it's like super, super strong. It's really difficult to cut through, but it's just as flexible as any other kind of line. So there must be something in there that maybe it's like carbonized and it's like some kind of carbon fiber that's just
Kevlar hair.
very fine. Yeah,
Probably Kevlar hair.
Kevlar hair.
Yeah.
All right, fine. I'll accept this.
Like, this also begs the question, though. When was Alice turned? Because I'm sure pixie cuts only came into fashion in the past, like...
Oh, I think there's an explanation for that one.
Yeah, well, wasn't it in the 20s?
Yeah, but she was also in an asylum, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was institutionalized, so they might have just cut it off to dehumanize their mentally ill patients.
Love that!
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the explanation. I think it comes up. It comes up in one of the books, but I'm pretty sure that's why she's got the short hair. Is because she was institutionalized right before she was turned.
In the movie, she has dyed hair, doesn't she?
They did change her hair in between the movies.
I know, I was just saying that, like, she has dyed hair, so can you dye your vampire hair?
The character doesn't have dyed hair.
Oh.
The actress does.
Well, anyway.
I mean, the actress who played Rosalie has, like, bleach blonde hair. It's not natural blonde hair, also. But
yeah.
On the subject of the shower, I was also very surprised by the idea of Edward taking a shower.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to, like, unpack why I found that surprising. Because it was like, clearly they must, like, get dirty. And it was like, did I think that vampires just, like, shed their skins or, like, vibrate at a really high frequency? So all of them... like, I don't know what I was thinking they would do to get clean, but I was shocked that Edward was having a shower. I personally like the idea that they just vibrate really, really fast, so all the like dust particles just fall off.
No, it's his Bay of Fundy smooth skin that just
yes,
dirt slides off it.
The Bay of Fundy is like so turbid and so muddy that if anything you put in there comes out super dirty. So like he would have had to have some kind of a bath after burrowing in the mud to avoid
mud. Yeah, good thing he didn't have to.
Yeah. Whew. Dodged a bullet on that one.
Dodged a bullet there. Man.
Okay, so this thought came to me because I'm also reading the Night Hunter series at the same time. And they also have vampires where their hearts don't beat. And then Edward's always saying, like, his heart doesn't beat, da-da-da. And it has come to my attention that this does not make physiological or biological sense because in Twilight, they still have venom pumping through them. So, like, still some sort of circulatory system. In the Night Hunter series, those vamps have blood going through them. Like, I don't understand, because if the heart doesn't beat, doesn't it all just pool in their feet when they stand up? So you just get, like, these vampires with swollen, blood, venom-filled feet. And then, like, I understand we have to have some leeway in these fantasy worlds and, like, with this paranormal shit. But, like, I don't understand the concept of a heart not beating and you still having a working inside. So, yeah.
Okay. Maybe the volume of their venom is such that it completely fills whatever fossilized remnants of a circulatory system they have. So it doesn't flow, it is just there, but it is filled all the way to the top. Oh, but then they use the venom when they bite, so they drain a little bit.
Yeah!
But we had already talked about... Okay, hear me out. Okay, so the vampire body is like diamond or super solid, so in theory it can't, like the venom can't just all go to the feet because, like, it can't change shape.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, so like their body is like solid. So like the
Yeah.
venom can't pool anywhere. It just has to fill the space that exists.
Yeah.
Right.
So then if it wasn't moving, that's where my issue is. But we'd also talked about they turn blood into the venom somehow.
Yeah.
But they must use up some of the venom when they're
Yeah.
hunting. And like, doesn't Edward say something about like venom pooling in his mouth or whatever? Or did I make that up?
No,
No.
that is true.
Yeah, that's true.
And he uses some in Breaking Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's what's the conversion process like in Twilight vampires?
It's just a bite. So like the venom, a small, like even just a little bit of venom is enough.
Right, but then do they like, go unconscious for a day or something? Like, is there
Yeah, so what they did in the movie, because for some reason I've watched this clip on YouTube a lot, is the like blood gets into the human circulatory system and then sort of like a virus actually like uses the human circulatory system to get through the entire body.
Yeah.
And the change is completed when it petrifies the heart. So like
okay?
it uses the heart to get through the entire body, and then as soon as it is everywhere, it stops the heart.
And
Yeah.
do they have like doesn't Bella like collapse for like is there something where they're just like incapacitated for a little while?
They I feel embarrassed that I remember this so vividly. And
I need the answer though.
I need to know.
in Bella's specific circumstance, they give her a bunch of morphine because Edward doesn't want her to be in pain for the couple of days that the transformation takes.
Okay.
But the morphine interacts with the venom to become a paralytic and does not actually work as an analgesic. So I think usually you are paralyzed specifically by the pain rather than any paralytic agent in the venom itself.
Oh.
Okay, I've got it figured out then. It's easy, guys. It's all easy.
Okay.
Oh.
They basically undergo a caterpillar metamorphosis inside.
Yeah.
The venom, like their outer body turns into this like diamond hard vampire shell, and then the
Yeah.
venom dissolves all of their innards, and then it reforms into a new vampire circulatory / venom system that we don't have to understand.
Oh no, I just got the it's a capillary system, like in trees.
Yeah.
Oh.
That
That's
would
what
work.
it is. That's exactly what it is.
The metamorphosis does have to happen. So that's what I'm saying. Because if you say like the venom, because like, yeah, caterpillars just become goop inside that pupa, and then the goop turns into a butterfly.
Yeah. So there is some kind of chemical reaction between vampire venom and human viscera, basically, that like catalyzes a change into whatever a vampire is made of.
Yeah. Wow, we figured it out.
Yeah, we did.
Easy.
I feel like you two figured it out. I ask the questions and then you two usually figure it out. I'm just here for the numbers.
Yeah, and obviously that would hurt a lot. So that implication means that like the nervous system stays untouched, but everything else becomes goo.
Yeah.
So I guess it's probably all soft tissue, right? Well, I guess bones also maybe.
Bones, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, it makes sense for the Twilight vampires. It still leaves me questions with other vampires not having heart beating, but still having blood flowing through them.
Yeah.
And they don't have the diamond skin, kind of like, they don't fit this hypothesis that we've developed, but I'll accept it for the Twilight vampires.
Yeah, I don't know anything about non-Twilight vampires. But, Sophie, your theory is corroborated in the source text because Edward specifically refers to his human life as a larval stage before he mutated into a vampire.
Hell yeah!
He specifically says that in chapter whatever probability in Midnight Sun. At the time, reading it this morning, I was like, what a weird freaking thing to say about your human life.
But no more.
No, it's biologically accurate. Who knew?
God, the amount of, like, I feel relief.
Yeah.
Actually come up with some, even though it's probably not that plausible, it's actually plausible.
Yeah.
No, I would buy that. That would make sense to me.
If I read that as the explanation in the book, I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll ride with this, sure.
I would accept it for sure.
Once we finish reading Twilight, we have to like go through and collate all of our things and write like a fake scientific paper
Yes.
on the physiology and morphology of the Twilight vampire, Strigoni benefici.
Yeah.
I want to do this. Yeah.
I really also want to do that. We should do it.
Edward's going to be the holotype of our taxonomic paper. It's going to be great. What if we just publish a book where we read every vampire series and come up with the biology for each of them?
Oh my god.
Yes, but no.
There's just a chapter for each of them. So we'll be like, here's Twilight, here's True Blood, here's the Vampire Diaries.
Yo, this could be somebody's friggin' PhD thesis. Seriously.
Okay, shall we wrap up this podcast?
Yeah, we should probably wrap it up.
Okay. There was a lot that happened in these chapters that we didn't talk about because we've talked about it 1,000 times, but that's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And also because we read 4 chapters.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It's a lot.
We talked about all the important stuff, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
So, do we want to take a guess on what the next chapter is going to be about? Thank God they're lined up again, because
Yep.
most chapters are called confessions, and I think we know what's going to happen because it was kind of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think this is the first time where I'm like very much like, yes, we know what's happening.
Yep.
This is the meadow scene.
It's the meadow scene. Also, did you notice that Alice made a prediction in this chapter, like, for us doing this specific activity? She was like, oh, I can see Bella, like, going home happy after you hang out at the meadow. And, like, maybe coming over to see our family on Sunday. And I was like, oh, maybe they go to see her family on Sunday.
Maybe the chapter after that is them seeing the Cullen family. Well, that was the shortest version of that we've ever had to do. Amazing.
Seriously.
We got it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. The meadow scene. It probably won't be the whole meadow scene, right? Well, or maybe it'll just be like the part in the meadow, but not the leaving the meadow. What happens in the meadow scene?
Do
they kiss?
Do they kiss?
I don't know. I can't remember.
They
Do they kiss?
They definitely talk about being in love with each other.
This is the part in the movie where Edward's like, you have to say it. And then she says vampire.
Oh my god, yeah.
Well, that happened already.
I know. Wait, is that not in the meadow scene?
No, in the movie it happens differently, where he's like in the forest and like interrogates her and like circles her like a friggin' creep. And then she's in the middle and he's like, you have to say it.
Ooh.
I don't know if it's in the meadow scene. I feel like they're in the same costumes, but I can't remember.
That's fine. I guess we'll find out next time what happens in the meadow, actually.
Yeah, it's like, wait a second.
We're like, they're in the meadow. Yeah, they're in the meadow.
Definitely in the meadow for sure.
Yeah, and Edward is barely wearing a terrible excuse for a shirt.
They're wearing matching ugly shirts. It's very sweet.
Anyway.
All right. Well, yeah, if you liked this chapter of Midlight Crisis, consider rating and reviewing us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. You can talk to us and find fun-related content on social media. We are at Midlight Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And all chapters of the show thus far are available on our website, midlightpod.podbean.com, and on YouTube. And make sure to check our socials this week, because there is a picture of Edward in this stupid shirt. I put a lot of effort into it. It took me 4 minutes. So you should go check that out.
Love it. It's great. So, if you don't buy our vampire biology and physiology answers to the many questions we've asked about it, you don't need to argue with us like Alice says. Just crisis first.
I just feel like after last week, where we lost our minds over thinking Twilight was in 2018, there's no way to come back from that.
There's no way.